I've been told that people seem to think that I love to hear myself talk. And it is very true. I do love to hear myself talk. They'll never get me to admit it, but I do.
For over a decade, the gaming world has been chasing a ghost. That ghost
Okay.
is the Source 2 SDK. Since Valve first teased their new engine, developers have been salivating at the thought of getting their hands on the tools.
So they're making a new engine. That's awesome.
We've seen what Valve can do with it. We've seen the lighting, the Rubicon physics, and the legendary optimization that
Damn, that
makes
looks
Valve
good.
games
Damn, that's some good liquid physics. Holy shit.
feel like Valve games. But for 10 years,
Ooh, that was good.
those tools stayed behind a locked door. Unless you were a high-level partner or a Valve employee, you were stuck on the outside looking in.
Gotta hold it back
while
there,
we were
cowboy.
all
Listen.
waiting for Valve to drop a
Listen, Nova, I do not come from the West. I have not earned the mantle of cowboy yet. Just because I wear hats doesn't mean I wear them cowboy hats. I don't even speak the way that cowboys would speak. Can't call me cowboy. Now you can call me an East Coast socialite, sure, I'll take that one. But I am not a cowboy.
traditional SDK, something was happening in the background at Face Punch Studios. Gary Newman, the creator of Gary's Mod and Rust, was building a love letter to Source 2. He called it Sandbox, or as some say, S&Box. For a long time, people thought Sandbox was just going to be Gary's Mod 2, a sandbox where you play other people's creations. But
Ooh.
as of March 2026, the entire landscape of indie game development is shifting. The news we have been waiting years for is official. Face Punch has finalized
Where's
a
your first-person
standalone
potion
license
alchemy
with
mixing
Valve.
game with
This
liquid and
means
bottle
you can
potions?
now
Well, it's
build
probably
the game
coming.
in Sandbox, export it as a standalone executable, and sell it on Steam as your own professional product.
That's really cool. I'm really happy that the tools for indie game developers are definitely like much better than they were even like 5 years ago. Like if you know, obviously I'm not a game developer. I don't know anything about like game development in the practical sense. I know what about theoretical senses in a way. But, you know, as a practical application and a practical skill, I really don't know much about it. But if you have those practical skills or even the ability to acquire those practical skills and you want to make a game, you have not had a better time to do it than now. Which is awesome. I think that's neat.
Completely royalty free. This is the birth of a new modern engine war. This is Valve's current secret weapon to reclaim the scene from Unity and Unreal. Today we are breaking down why this deal is such big news for gamers and developers. Before we get into the legal deal,
Man, look at
we
that
need to
little guy.
understand what Sandbox actually is. According to Face
Goofy
Punch's
bean
official
person.
description, Sandbox is a spiritual successor to Gary's Mod and a love letter to Source 2. It's built to eclipse what was possible before, not just modernize it. We're using Source 2 and everything we've learned from Source 1, Gary's Mod, Unity, and Unreal to create a modern, intuitive, moddable game development environment. Just think about that for a second. They aren't trying to make a better Gmod. They are trying to take the best parts of Unity and Unreal and combine them with the Valve feel of Source 2. It's a full game engine and platform where you create in a familiar scene-based editor, but unlike other engines, multiplayer is built in from day one. You create a
You know, that's very interesting that like again, Valve and its developers just coming in farming W's just left and right. I honestly am curious to know or curious to see in the near future what the indie game landscape is going to look like with this in it. You know, I've never really been a huge Source Engine fan in the sense of like the games made on it because that's probably due in part to personality. Maybe the games passed me by, but I haven't really played that many games in Source Engine. So I'm kind of excited if this does, you know, get big, which it looks like it might, to see what it feels like, how it plays, because it could be interesting. If this engine meets the hype Epic is cooked from the indie end, I mean, Epic might even be cooked from the AAA end if you really sit down and think about it. Like, if this is just a good engine and it's free, AAAs are going to look at that and be like, so why are we paying for Unreal again?
Game, and it's instantly playable. As Gary puts it, this is a long-term project. They aren't looking for a quick win. They are building a platform they want to use themselves for the next couple of decades.
You know it's going to be good when they say, we are making something that we want to engage with ourselves. That is like my first litmus test to see if like it's worthy of investing my time into.
The Steam page already live and a full launch window set for April 2026. We are standing on the edge of a new era. Anyone who has tried out Sandbox already can tell you it has insane potential when it fully launches. The possibilities are essentially endless. So now let's get into the heart of the new developments. On March 25th, 2026, Gary Newman dropped a bombshell in their newsfeed. He stated, "We signed the new license with Valve this week, allowing us to allow people to export games from Sandbox's editor and ship them as standalone games on Steam, completely royalty-free." He admitted that this wasn't an easy deal to strike.
So Valve just kind of walked up to them or walked to the table with them and said, oh, yeah, you can export your games and you don't have to pay royalties. Excuse me? Gabe himself has come down from the heavens to give us the gift of Steam and gaming. He can't lose.
A bit of a complicated journey that required a lot of
I don't know. A lot of AAA studios see themselves on a weird hill, on weird hills to die on for some reason. They probably say that we're not changing any engines because Unreal is better, even if it isn't. You know, I don't know what that's going to look like. Because, you know, on the one hand, you might be right that they might stick to it because it's what they've been using. You know, maybe they have contracts. Maybe they have to wait for it to extend. I can't honestly predict the future. It would seem to me the most reasonable course of action is within 5 years of this engine coming out, it being an easy engine to work with, the transition period from, we'll just use Unreal as a good example, from Unreal to Sandbox they might do that. And there also might be some, you know, there might be some development tools or some type of like specific engine specific things that they did as workarounds or as part of their game development process that are only usable in Unreal, that they might still use it. But any new project, I think, if this engine is as good as it seems like it's hyped up to be, will likely use this engine if it's that good, especially because it's got Unreal compatibility. AAA will absolutely be the last group to switch over because they'll drag their feet and pitch a fit about it getting popular. Well, Unreal definitely will. Sorry, Epic definitely will. Because obviously they're going to be losing a market share. But I don't know if they're going to be dragging their feet because they're going to be angry that it succeeded. I think they're going to drag their feet because of, honestly, the monumental task that it takes to migrate engines. Like, that is a big task, to be fair. And if they're a corporate entity, everything in corporate, you might as well tack on 5 years. You know, there's a new thing that came out that everybody else is adopting. Well, corporate will adopt it in 5 years when it's obsolete. I know this for a fact. I've seen people do it. We're implementing something that's 5 years out of date. Yeah, okay, that sounds about right.
Assurance and compromises, but in the end, as Gary famously said, Valve did the bizzo. Usually when you license an engine, you are signing away a huge chunk of your wallet, but this deal allows you to take your Sandbox creation. Let's say you made a revolutionary tactical shooter, or maybe even a cozy farming simulator, and then you turn it into a standalone game. The player at home doesn't even need to have Sandbox installed to see or play your your game.
Huh.
You don't owe Valve or Facepunch a single cent in royalties for using their engine. Sandbox is entering the market and saying, keep your money. You owe nothing for using the Source 2 technology provided through Sandbox. This makes it one of the most financially attractive engines for any developer to launch on Steam. Valve and Facepunch are essentially paying it forward.
How does Steam keep getting away with this? Just being the best.
They want to see the next generation of
If I were a
creators
AAA
succeed
dev, I'd be
without the
mad.
weight of corporate greed crushing them before they start. But you might be wondering, why is Gary doing this? Why wouldn't he at least take a small cut?
Because
he
he's
is
amazing.
providing the tools and so much more. In November 2025, when he began the process of open sourcing Sandbox components, he said, "Valve gave me my chance. I'm already rich. I don't want to fuck anyone over." He expanded on this in further interviews, explaining that his entire 20-year career is thanks to Valve taking a risk on a modder from the UK back in the early 2000s.
Wow. Imagine if only we had more people like this in the halls of power.
Gary's mod gave him more money than he could have ever dreamed of, and now he feels a responsibility to pass that torch. That's my main motivation now, is giving people what I've had, because I think Valve did it for me. I think we should be the same, because everybody benefits. So by making Sandbox standalone and royalty-free, Gary is recreating—
Just remember, when you're on your Doomer pill arc, or when you're like Doomer, you know, taking the black pill or whatever, remember, there are people who legitimately like this exist in the world. Hopefully that's enough for you to be able to come back from all the doom and gloom of literally anything else. Gary's mod was honestly pretty goated in its era. It was. You know, again, you're gonna hear this from me, and it's definitely a huge dock to my gamer score. I never played Gary's mod. Never appealed to me. I know, shock, horror, and awe. However, I do exist in a world where I can recognize that it is a great piece of, I mean, is it a game or software? I don't know what would be more better to describe it, but it is a brilliant piece of whatever it is. And I'm happy that it exists because I think it overall made games better. Because it gave a lot of people, a lot of indie developers, their first start in game creation.
The Gary's mod moment for everyone else. He is giving us the tools to build the next big game.
Damn,
and
that looks
he's
fun.
removing every legal barrier that usually stops that from happening. But now, we need to clarify something important. The version of Source 2 inside Sandbox isn't just a copy and paste of what Valve uses for Counter-Strike 2 or Dota 2. It's a custom, high-performance branch that Facepunch has been gutting and rebuilding for years.
Damn.
As they also are using C# for multiple other systems.
Imagine.
So although this isn't the raw Source 2 code that Valve uses, it is still a very important part. Just think of it this way, Valve builds Source 2 to make Valve games. That means the raw engine is often full of Valve jank, specific code meant only for Half-Life or Counter-Strike. Gary and his team took that foundation and essentially translated it for the rest of us. They replaced the old clunky systems with modern workflows. It's Source 2, but it's been Facepunchified to be fun and easy to use. So some game devs or even gamers might be wondering, but why would you pick this over a behemoth like Unreal Engine 5 or Unity? And it comes down to three things:
money,
physics, fidelity, and friction. For physics, Unreal is known for chaos physics, which is great for cinematic destruction, but it can feel heavy or floaty at times. Source 2 uses Rubicon.
It also feels like there's a certain degree of like, how do I put this? There is a degree of something in the Unreal Engine that makes it feel like you're playing an Unreal Engine game. I don't know if it's the weightiness or any type of other type of adjective, because I don't know how to describe how I know I'm playing an Unreal game. Maybe shorted in a way, but it feels like it. So I can understand what is being meant by that. Also, it seems like the storm here is picking up a little bit. If you hear thunder in the background, oof.
Which is arguably the most tactile physics engine in gaming. It's why
Sure.
throwing a bottle in
Man.
Half-Life Alyx or moving in CS2 feels so precise. For indies making physics-based games,
Like that, I feel like I could drink that. That doesn't feel like, you know, an approximation of liquid. That feels like, oh, I could just reach through the screen and drink that.
this is the gold
Which is
standard.
a weird feeling.
So Sandbox currently uses a customized version of Rubicon, which they call Box 3D Physics, as they've made tons of changes to it over the years. In terms of visuals, while
Gmod
Unreal
TTT was
has
peak.
Lumen, it requires a massive amount of
Nice.
hardware power. Sandbox leverages Valve's VRAD 3 lighting and native Vulkan support.
It's the same way that we knew
gives you that
CryEngine games?
crisp,
Yeah.
clean Valve look, high-end light.
I actually, so I just suggested in the, by the way, Discord plug, huge Discord plug if you're not part of the Discord. I was talking to somebody asked about games that could be played, you know, because they were like, hey, does anybody got any good recommendations? And I recommended a CryEngine game called Generation Zero. If you haven't played it, you know, give it a try. It's pretty good. But as soon as I started playing that, I was like, is this CryEngine? I'm pretty sure it was. Let me see. Otherwise, I'm going to look stupid. Pretty sure it is, yeah. Oh, no, it's not. What engine? The Apex engine, rather. But it's made by the people who did Crysis, so it was close. But I knew it was not Unreal, and I was like, oh, this feels different. And it was fun. But definitely, the engine definitely does give meaningful feel to things.
Lighting and shadows that run smoothly even on mid-range hardware.
Yeah, it's hard to
AAA
quantify
fidelity
them.
without the AAA hardware requirement. But then there's also the death of compile times. In Sandbox, with hot loading, you can change the gravity of your world or the fire rate of a gun while you are standing in the game, and it updates
That's pretty
the
good for
second
people.
you
That's pretty good for people who like can't visualize coding, right? Or visualize like what's happening. Again, I don't really know much about game development, but like this right here, this part, my eyes just glaze over. I have no idea. It's just like, okay. Like I understand sometimes when I'm reading stuff like this, especially when it comes to mods and stuff, but it might as well be in a foreign language to me. But being able to see it side by side,
hit
ooh,
save,
that's nice.
you're not just building a game, you're actually playing with it in real time. But I already know there's gonna be a question that a lot of you are asking. Why doesn't Valve just release their own Source 2 SDK? Why have to go through Facepunch? And well, if you know
So it uses
Valve,
an
you know
interpreter
they
rather
are
than
a
a compiler.
product-first
Interesting.
company. They build tools to
Yeah,
make
honestly, because you said that you have been dabbling and stuff like that, I'd be interested to see if if you got your hands on this Munstry, and if you had any opinions on it, because obviously your opinion would be a little bit more weighty than mine, having not done any game development. Not to put you on the spot or anything like that, but I'd be interested in your opinion when it comes out. See how it feels for you.
their games. So by licensing the engine to Facepunch, Valve gets all the benefits of Source 2 being widely used without any of the headaches of supporting it. Facepunch acts as the translator. They take the raw, powerful, and often messy internal Valve tools and polish them into a consumer-grade product. This is likely the only quote-unquote Source 2 SDK we will see for a very, very long time, even though it's not technically only Source 2, and more so just a custom version of it at this point. Valve provided the foundation,
it seems very
and
3D
Gary
physics
provides
from
the
this,
accessibility.
But
it's a genius move that keeps the Valve ecosystem.
I think that it probably will be quite versatile, because like when it comes down to it, a lot of engines are pretty versatile, right? Like I've seen like 2D card games in Godot, and I've seen like 3D, shooters in Godot. I've seen the same for Unity. I've seen the same even for Unreal. So it's like, I'm pretty sure that the versatility of this game is going to be something that is really stressed because of the legacy of its creator and Valve itself wanting to contain a lot more tools for people to be able to create, especially coming from Gary's Mod. At least that seems what it would be to me. I'm just curious if Source is being licensed. I assume they are paying for it, unless they did a free license. So how? I think that's what they said at the beginning of the article. I think that Valve just said you can go ahead and sell it without charging people a license, because I think they just in perpetuity gave everybody a license. Not necessarily profit, but they have to keep the lights on. I don't know. They're going to get their money back from their games. Yeah, I definitely think so. Because, like, you also have to think about it in terms of what does this do for getting people engaged with the platform? Because if they're going to be selling their games on their platform, even if they're making no money off the games, maybe they're cutting even, maybe they're not. But because, like, they're going to be selling it on the Steam platform, right? So they'll probably be making some money off of the games themselves, off the commission, not for the engine, but for the games themselves, as well as they're going to be bringing more people, more games, more good games, even mid-tier games are going to be bringing people onto their ecosystem, which is Steam, which may then interest them in other Steam products. So that itself might even pay for itself. That's fair. Engine development is just one of the most expensive overheads of any studio, so it's interesting to think. I think that you're right, that there is a huge overhead for that, but in it being a huge overhead, I think that Steam, or rather Valve, developing their Source 2 have probably been developing it because they wanted to develop it rather than, like, they didn't care about the money that went into it. At least that's what it seems. Same thing for this particular project. It seemed like they were like, you know what, we're just going to make an engine for people to use rather than we're going to make an engine to sell. Considering their games are Rust and Gmod, they have tons of money. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I don't even think that it's a question of whether or not, like, again, they made it specifically to sell or specifically for money. I think they were just like, well, we're set and satisfied. Let's go ahead and make another engine. I mean, Rust is $40 and is consistently in the top 5 highest player counts. Yeah. And like I said, again, this will be another one of those things where, it's going to bring more people to the platform. And wow, this thing was made by this engine who is owned by these people. Let's give Rust a try. I think that this also has a lot more externalities to it that are, that's me putting my cynical hat on, that, like, can be leveraged after this comes out for free. But I think if I'm going to be putting on my real life / optimist hat, I think they just said, let's make an engine because we want to. And then they did. Awesome. I really think that's basically what it is. I think that they didn't even think about the overhead because I don't think they cared.
System alive and thriving. So right now we are currently
no, I get
in
that.
the
I'm just
home
wondering
stretch.
how they keep
the technical
funding
rollout
the salary
for
of the
standalone
devs.
exporting is happening at
although I'm sure that some investment potential from devs who want the. So I think that's what it is. I don't even think they had any investments. I don't think that they really care about funding the salary, because I'm going to think that, like, they're probably already set. They probably don't even need a salary. They probably woke up every day and say, for my hobby, I'm going to work on an engine. That's my, like, completely uninformed take. I think that's probably what happened. I think they said, you know what, we're going to work on an engine today. Why not? And I don't even think that they even considered it a job. I think they were like, we're just going to do it. Okay. Mostly because, like, yeah, as Munstery was saying, they've made their money. They have products out there that are going to continue, that are, in a way, evergreen products. So I don't even think that they really cared to, make money off of it. Realistically, the only one reason I'm thinking it is that I want them to keep being able to do it. I think that they're going to keep being able to do it because they're going to want to do it, not because they're going to have an incentive to do it. I think that's probably the most important thing. Is this to me seems like they decided, I don't care about the money, I want to do this. And to me, that's much more important than we're going to do this because we got money coming in.
As we speak, Gary mentioned that they still have some paperwork to finish. We still have work to do on our end. We need to create a license between Facepunch and the people shipping games, then double and triple check everything is legit. When it's ready, we'll be piloting it with a few select people. The first game expected to launch under this license is My Summer Cottage. When that hits Steam, it will be proof of concept for the game dev industry. Once that's over, the doors are
I wonder
open
if that's got
for
any
everyone.
relationship
With
to My Summer
Sandbox's
Car.
full release scheduled for April 2026, we are about to see a flood of high-quality source.
All right. We're going to pause for just a second as I go into Steam and look at My Summer Cottage, because I'm going to add that to my list. Mostly because now I'm curious. Now I'm interested. We're going to check that out after. We're going to check that out as soon as we can. Just add it to wish list right here. And see what that's like.
2 powered games hitting Steam. If you had these tools in your hands today with
We'll have
zero
to see how it
royalties and the
plays.
ability to launch on Steam, what is the first game you would build? Are we
Ooh.
about to see the return of the classic
Man,
Source
just let it go.
mod
Let it
era,
snap.
but this time
Just
with
let it snap. No, don't
professional
push it.
standalone
No, no,
releases?
thank you. What the heck?
So
Yeah.
For only the
Hang on,
return
we gotta watch this again because
of the classic Source mod era,
just drop it. Just drop it. Just don't push it in. Just drop it.
but this time with
Ah! Oh, it hurts.